Thank you and good morning. A while back, a colleague and I were having a conversation about all the changes that are occurring in education. And we were feeling this is somewhat out of our comfort zone. So are students going to be able to do this? But in reality, yes, they can. Here we have two classrooms that look totally different. Inside these walls, teachers create environments for students to have opportunities to be critical thinkers, communicators, and problem solvers. To help students become problem solvers, teachers often circulate the classroom, listening to conversations, checking for understanding, and answer students' questions with thought-provoking questions of their own to get them to think about the task at hand. The continual technological changes we face with augmented reality, virtual learning, student devices and their cell phones, can we as teachers set the stage for students to utilize these tools appropriately so they can solve problems in modern education? One day, when I was scrolling through my Twitter feed, I noticed this was shared from another educator about Hattie, and she said, Hattie states, if the student is not learning, it's because we have not yet found the strategy to make learning happen. And if we want students to be able to be problem solvers, we have to set the stage for them to learn. Do we need to transition students from the isolated learner to more of a collaborative learner so they can checkpoint their peers and persevere until they find their education solutions while holding each other accountable for their learning process? There are so many tools available for students. I remember one day I was watching my daughter and my nephew looking at a YouTube video trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Even though this was an immediate solution for them, it did not help them to be problem solvers. As teachers, can we transform our classroom into environments with rich tasks for students to have opportunities to think critically, collaborate, communicate with each other in order to be creative in solving problems in multiple ways, and not just having to look up answers? Thinking critically, students are going to have to be able to read and understand academic vocabulary, accessing prior knowledge, and figure out what they need to research or what they need to find in order to organize their thoughts to move forward. Here's a task that one of my students did. I noticed their struggle was not very productive. So once I had to supply them the tools, they were able to organize their thoughts and get through the steps in order to solve the problem. But each individual group did it differently, but they all came to the same solutions. During their collaboration process, it was very cool to listen to the conversations and how they unraveled their way working through that rich task. Instead of me giving the answers, the learning will stay with them longer since they had to figure it out. Limiting my teacher talk provided the students to have opportunities to utilize their prior knowledge, to try and make sense and understand what they're supposed to be solving with each other, therefore resulting in more thinking and more learning for students. By moving the talking to the students, even if it's digitally, this provides opportunities for students to communicate with each other and have that peer-to-peer feedback. Have you ever repeatedly told students something and they still just did not get it? But then, when you gave the opportunity to put them together to have that talk to each other, there were sometimes moments of aha or clarity or, yeah, I can get it. So activating students as instructional resources for each other to provide feedback, to help move their learning forward, students can then begin to demonstrate their own creativity in multiple ways. Look at these creative things my students did on a Desmos project. They were frustrated when they said, why don't you just tell me how to make the animation? I heard one girl go, because she doesn't know how. Peer feedback doesn't always have to be face-to-face. It can also happen in many other ways where students can have time to share, reflect, and take ownership in their learning. When students are able to set their own goals, they take ownership and responsibility in their own learning. Here is a quote from one of my students in quarter 3. She said, "We collaborate and help each other through our struggles, which is why I find it easier to reach my goal when the person sitting next to me will help explain to me the things I need further explanation on." Dylan Williams said, "We need to help our students learn without us." And this is very difficult for most teachers because we tend to believe we are the main causes of student learning. What teachers can do is create the circumstances within the learners learn. So to support my students in transitioning to be good problem solvers, no matter what the task I ask them, Is it out of your comfort zone? Will it be a challenge and worth it when you see the results? Can you do it? And this is what I always tell them. Yes, you can. Thank you.